From The Onion and Onion Public Radio, this is The Topical. I'm your host, Leslie Price, and no matter how this election turns out, I'll always promise to commit to a peaceful transfer of the news. Here are today's top stories. If you live in Texas and are planning to vote by mail in next week's election, you may need to start making other plans. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued an executive order today that will limit absentee voting in the state to just one ballot per county. And if you do happen to be the one lucky resident in your county given a ballot, Texas election officials are also reminding absentee voters to properly identify yourself as a registered white Republican, or else your county's vote could be disqualified. There is some good news today for states that actually are allowing their residents to vote, however. Election officials in Wisconsin are happy to report they have found zero evidence of voter fraud in any of the ballots they've thrown out so far. That's great news. Let's hope they can keep it up through November 3rd. Well, that might be all the news you need to know today, but guess what? The world doesn't revolve around you. There's a lot more news to get to, and a lot of other people out there listening, so don't be selfish. Back with more right after this. Despite being a controversial practice in the American electoral system, gerrymandering is set to play a critical role in the 2020 elections. But many voters still don't fully understand just how it affects their ballot. Here to offer an explainer on gerrymandering and how it affects your vote is political science and elections expert Patton Oswalt.
Hi, Leslie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, you believe that gerrymandering could be one of the most severe threats facing our democracy. Why don't you walk us through exactly what it is and how it can be prevented?
Oh, of course. So gerrymandering, which is the redrawing of political boundaries, is actually an extreme form of voter discrimination. And it can seem really complicated. Fortunately, though, there's a very simple explanation as to how it works. As you'll see here, we have a grid with 100 squares, right? 40 of those squares are red and 60 are blue. Now,
Patton, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is a podcast, and I'm just worried this might be a little difficult for our listeners to picture on their own.
Well, it's so simple once you look at it, but that's okay. That's okay. I can just describe it. So, okay, look, you have these squares, and if you draw the boundary lines around them this one way, it creates correct representative sections. But then if you redraw the lines around certain squares this other way, things start to look a lot different.
Do they?
Well, sure. I mean, you can't see it, but you have a much different picture indeed.
Right, but is there any way maybe to better articulate this for people who are just listening?
Yeah, well, lines around the squares are all different, and you can see right here.
Yeah, our listeners can't see, Patton.
Oh, that's okay. Then I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna do this.
Well, you better come up with something quick, otherwise no one's gonna give a shit about gerrymandering or how to stop it.
Okay, let's start over. Imagine you've got a pizza. You got a pizza, okay? We know what a pizza looks like, right?
Yeah.
And you have 6 slices, and I just have 2. But then I start redrawing the pizza lines, and I say the pizza to the left is mine.
Your left or my left?
The listener's left. To the left. Okay, and so the pizza... Okay, are you still seeing the pizza? Because it's getting gerrymandered, and now I'm going to get more pizza.
Well, let me stop you right there because now I'm even more confused. I was always under the impression that gerrymandering took place in states.
Yes, that's right. Right, okay. Oh, all right, so picture a state. Maybe an easy one to pick, like Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. Okay, listeners, are you picturing Pennsylvania? Okay, now, imagine that there's a line coming in from the side of Pennsylvania.
Which side?
The left, the west. The west, okay? And the line should be a straight line to make a square, but it's not. It's all jagged because of, partisanship. Does that make sense?
Not at all.
God damn it. All right. All right. What I think we need to do is for the listener to just create their own visual aid at home. Can you do that? Because I have mine right here in front of me, and it's very easy to understand gerrymandering once you're looking at it, okay? So let's just draw Pennsylvania since we're already thinking about it.
A quick note to any of our listeners who are currently driving, please do not...
We're drawing Pennsylvania from memory, Leslie. The great state of Pennsylvania, home of chocolate and Hershey's, all that bullshit, all right? Now remember, it's got those little kooky crags on the eastern side, all right? It's not just a rectangle state.
Oh, we could do a rectangular state to simplify things.
No, I want to do Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is especially important to gerrymandering because it's what's known as a swing state. And those are the only ones that matter because of our fucked up electoral college system, but I really can't get into that right now, all right? Okay, have you drawn Pennsylvania? Great. Now, let's start drawing about halfway up the west side. Draw a straight line perpendicular to the western border until I say stop.
Patton.
Shit. And stop. Okay, now, draw a line that curves inward at about a 66-degree angle. This would be better if the listeners have a protractor. Do you have a protractor or a ruler? Now's the time to go get it.
We're running short on time, Patton.
Okay, now, if you draw another line, about an 1/8 inch long at a 40-degree angle from that last line, and then probably like 3 or 4 really sharp squiggles.
Patton, you are losing them.
And then it veers off from that for like 1/4 of an inch.
You're blowing this, Patton.
And then it just kind of circles back up to the beginning. It looks pretty weird, right? Well, that's gerrymandering, and it sucks.
All right, that was Patton Oswalt, political scientist and U.S. electoral expert, attempting to explain gerrymandering. But if it can't be explained on a podcast, then it's probably not all that important anyway. We'll be back in a moment. Hey, nice job, Patton.
Fuck off.
Attack ads. They've become as synonymous with our democratic process as the act of voting itself. And with only a few days to go before the 2020 election, the mudslinging between the two presidential candidates has taken on a new and even more ferocious tone. OPR chief election correspondent Rebecca Neal joins us now to discuss some of the latest campaign ads that will be plaguing your televisions until Election Day. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Leslie. As the election enters the home stretch, the campaigns of both President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are shifting their ad strategies from attacking each other to negative ads that directly blast voters themselves. Let's take a listen to one of the ads that's now playing nationally.
You've seen what's happened to this country over the past 4 years. And now you're getting another chance to make things right, like you deserve it. Hopefully you don't mess it up like last time. This November, let's try it again, shall we? And this time, try not to screw it up.
Wow, well, that certainly sends a strong message to voters from the Biden campaign.
Oh, that one was actually from the Trump campaign, Leslie. Here's one recently released by the Biden campaign.
How many second chances are we supposed to give you stupid fucking fucks? On November 3rd, cast your vote and just try not to cut your limp little dicks off in the process. Fucking dumbasses.
Interesting strategy, but this close to the election, you have to assume most voters know who they're going to vote for and already can't stand themselves. Are these big national ad spends really worth it?
Well, that might be true for a majority of the country, but with some highly contested battleground states still up for grabs, neither campaign wants to give up a chance to let voters know just how unbearably brain-dead they find them. Let's take a listen to another Biden ad that's specifically blasting voters in the key swing state of Pennsylvania.
President Trump promised to bring back jobs, and you believed him? What is wrong with you? Pennsylvania is completely screwed. Anyone smarter than you would have moved away by now. Oh, there aren't going to be any new jobs. You have some of the worst nature in America, and your accents make you sound like stupid assholes. Also, the Phillies suck.
And not to be outdone, a similar message from the Trump campaign in response.
Look at you, driving around in your massive, ugly cars to your huge, shitty houses. You actually think you're good for this country. You're nothing but a waste of time and resources, and we'd all be better off if you were dead. And don't think you can go crawling to my opponent, because he hates you just as much as I do. There's nothing worse than an American voter.
Good points on both sides, but recent polls have shown that most voters tend to view negative campaign ads that directly call them an asshat unfavorably, so I'm still a bit skeptical. How are average everyday Americans responding?
Well, that's a great question, Leslie. I spoke to Richard Ogletree, a mechanic from Detroit, and asked how he felt about being called a dim-witted donkey fucker by the men running for president, and here's what he had to say.
When I first heard those ads saying that my family members and I wouldn't know a good vote from our own assholes, I was upset. But then I realized I am honestly too stupid to understand those ads that have policies and whatnot. I don't even really understand the stakes of elections or how any of this works. Those ads are right. I should go fuck myself.
Interesting. So, who do you think you'll vote for?
Well, the Biden ad said I was an unhinged lunatic, and the Trump ad called me a loser, so I'm still undecided.
Well, at least he has his mind made up on the important issues.
And one recent poll suggests that the campaign's gamble to insult Americans to their stupid fucking faces might be paying off, as we could see record turnout this election due to voters' sheer self-hatred.
That is good news. Voting is the most important thing after all, even if you do have shit for brains. Thanks, Rebecca. That's OPR's Rebecca Neal. Back in a moment. We're less than a week away from Election Day, and while many things still feel very uncertain, there is one thing we know for sure. Whoever wins the presidency next week will be tasked with the extremely difficult job of uniting a country that may be more divided than ever before. But is uniting the country even possible, or are our many differences simply too much to overcome? OPR's Alan Potts is set out to answer this very question and joins us now. Hello, Alan.
Hi, Leslie.
Now, Alan, you spent some time engaging with voters on all sides of the political spectrum, is that right?
That's right, Leslie. You know, it can be so easy to demonize the other side, especially online or when you don't know anyone with differing viewpoints from your own. So we wanted to see what happens when you come face to face with someone you adamantly disagree with, and what can be learned just from empathy, from looking into the eyes of someone you disagree with. So, we orchestrated this experiment. We have two people diametrically opposed. We have a 54-year-old man named Rick. He's a rural conservative voter from Missouri, big Trump supporter. And we also have Carrie, who's 29 years old, and she's a hardcore Democrat from Boston. And we put them in a room alone together to see if they could come to terms with some of their differences.
Oh, well, that sounds wonderful. So how long have they been talking?
They've been locked up in there since last week.
Wait, they've been talking for a week?
That's right. And now, right here, live on air, we're going to check in with them and see how their conversations have been going, and see once and for all if uniting the country is indeed possible.
Oh, God! Oh, the smell! Oh, oh, Alan! What did you do?
Oh, they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. They just haven't had a shower. So guys, how did it go? How are you feeling? Did you realize there is more that unites us than divides us?
Jesus, what the hell happened here, Alan? Move out of the doorway!
Don't use my name!
Well, let me see what's... Oh! Oh, my God!
Listen, they were just in here, okay? I thought if they were locked in a room, they would be forced to talk, you know? You can see my thinking. It's actually very simple. So I forgot about them over the weekend. So what? What's a weekend, honestly, during these times? Actually, shit, we were off last week, so it was 2 weekends. Fuck.
They're dead.
Maybe they're just sleeping.
For 2 weeks?
The human body... I don't know. Oh, God, we gotta get them out of here.
What? What do you mean? We have to call someone.
No cops. No cops. Nobody would understand what we were trying to do. We were just trying to bring people together, but they would blame us.
You keep saying we, but this was your project.
I did this under the umbrella...
I don't care. I'm calling security.
Leslie, no!
Don't use my name!
Both our names have been said aloud now. There's nothing we can do about it. Listen, we need to calm down and focus. If the cops find out, we're both going to jail and your life will be over. How long do you think a public radio host would last behind bars, huh? Oh, we need to make this work somehow.
Oh, God. What do we do?
We just have to act. I mean, it's not our fault.
It's not?
No, this is simply the result of the experiment. These two couldn't even put aside their partisan squabbles to escape a stupid soundproof room. Where's that intern? They need the college credit too much to squeal. Joy, get the hell in here!
Hey, did you guys need some refills, or... Oh my God!
Shut the hell up and keep quiet. And don't say my name. Help us and nothing bad happens, okay? We could make this stick for you if we wanted to. Leslie, grab a leg. Intern, Joy, grab the other leg. Joy!
It's Jessica.
Yeah, I was using code names.
Yeah, it looks like you're going down with us too, Joy.
Joy, just go grab a saw from the supply closet. And stop crying. You want those college credits, don't you?
But Alan, how? What do we say happened?
Well, it's a shame that they'd let their different stances on health care and taxes do this to them. Lift! They should have realized that a lack of water wasn't the enemy, but maybe bureaucratic America's lack of aid in the Flint water crisis. Clearly this country deserved what's happening to it, right, Leslie?
Yeah. Maybe the division in this country is too deep to heal.
Exactly. This is very illuminating, actually, now that I think about it. Get the bleach? It's in the supply closet next to the Post-its. You can see the woman from Boston clawed at the wall until her fingers were bloody, while it looks like the man is in the fetal position. Maybe that says something about the hopelessness of rural Americans versus the greater, albeit naive, optimism of East Coast professionals.
My God. Is this what the president has done to this country? Are we so divided we can't even figure out how to stay alive without access to food or air or the bathroom?
Sure, I like that. It's all Trump's fault that this happened. I mean, there's an air duct right up there. Why couldn't they just come together and just climb up? Probably because of immigration or discrimination or something. It's their fault for not overcoming their partisan differences and banding together. Okay, now put the pieces in the barrel. I learned this from Breaking Bad. Oh, and cover your eyes.
Oh.
Democrat or Republican, we are all made of the same fragile, stupid, too weak to break down the door bodies.
Oh, right. Yeah. They failed to find common ground, and it cost them. If nothing else, dialogues like these show that we are all in this together, no matter how we feel about the other side, and...
What the...
Hey, I have a Jimmy John's delivery for sweet... What the hell is this? Who are these people?
No witnesses.
Oh, God, Alan, no!
No witnesses!
We'll be back in a moment.
Alan! God, what did... Why?
So as you see, listener, the question of whether or not this country can be brought together is still very much up in the air. Let's just hope whatever side wins is willing to fund all the therapy I'm going to need. Also, if you tell anyone about what happened here today, well, let's just say there's plenty more room in that acid barrel for you and your loved ones, so keep your mouth shut. Now here's what else you need to know today. With only a few days before the election, states across the country are already seeing problems at many of their polling sites, and one election watchdog group is up in arms as they say long lines at the polls disenfranchise voters who really need to get home to rub one out. Many voting rights advocacy groups insist that not everyone can take 2 or 3 hours out of their day to not be at home quietly masturbating, and that these excessive long lines are nothing more than an extreme form of chicken choking suppression and infringe on your right as a voter to paddle the pink canoe. And quite a breakthrough on the red planet today, as NASA scientists have announced the discovery of dry ice on Mars could mean the planet may one day be suitable for a Halloween party. Wow, I never would have believed something like this could ever happen in my life, but it may only be a matter of time before humanity is doing the monster mash up there. And finally, this weekend may be your last chance to see a few old favorites, as Netflix has released its list of Hulu executives that will be disappearing at the end of the month. Oh wow, their families might want to check them out while they still can. And that's the topical for today. I'm Leslie Price. The news doesn't stop even if the authorities are able to apprehend us, so be sure to visit theonion.com for more on all the day's top stories. And for even more exclusive news content, be sure to check out the Topical's Patreon. We have an all-new Leslie's Mail Sack election special out today that you can hear for as little as $5 a month. And if you want to know who's going to win the presidential election before anyone else does, be sure to tune in to Monday's episode of The Topical, where we'll sit down with OPR's immortal election expert, who's only predicted 12 of the 58 presidential elections correctly, but we still let him guess every 4 years anyway. Boy, I bet those dead voters wish they were him right about now. Anyway, you won't want to miss it. We'll see you Monday. The news doesn't stop just because this YouTube video has. For even more on all the worst things happening in the world right now, listen and subscribe to The Topical on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you insatiable news freaks.